And I'm Lannie.
We want to thank you all again for joining us for our talk in the morning. We took a bit of a break after those first few episodes. We hope you enjoyed the content, and most of all, we hoped that if you were dealing with the loss, that it did something, even the smallest thing, to help you deal with that process.
And if you aren't dealing with the loss, that it gave you some tools, some ideas,
some insight
on how to help
be there,
or be there for someone who who may have experienced loss.
So we're back, and we're going to be talking more about the process, the grieving, the mourning process that we're going through regarding our two girls, Lolani and Leilani. And specifically, we're going to be talking about, what we're doing to remember them, to keep them in our hearts and in our minds.
One of the things that I did was join a group for parents who are mourning, and it's sad being in the group because I don't want to be a part of it at all, but it's comforting because I'm virtually amongst other parents who know exactly what I'm dealing with and what I'm going through. So one of the things that I see a lot is that a lot of them say they don't want their child's name to be forgotten. They don't want their child to be forgotten. They speak their names frequently, and that's one of the things that we always do is to say their names. Even with just day-to-day conversation with our kids that we have Earthside, we always mention the girls. We always mention the twins. It just happened today. We frequently get asked, "Well, how many kids you have? How many kids do you have?" And I know we had mentioned in a previous episode that we always say 5. We have 5 children, and he was literally asked that today after church. How many kids do you have? I had an appointment several weeks ago, and I was asked that, how many kids do you have? And that one, I don't know if I had talked to you in detail about that one in particular, but I had an appointment, and the lady asked, how many kids you have? And I said, I have 5. And they're like, oh, wow, do you have 5 kids?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, I have 5 kids. And, she, continued asking questions about them, and, it came up that, well, I, further explained that we have twin daughters, but we unfortunately lost both. And she was like, oh, wow, what are their names? Nobody had ever asked me that before. What are their names? And that touched me, and I was so excited to tell her. My twin A is Leilani, and her name means heavenly flower. And my twin B is Nolani, and her name means heavenly mist. And when I told her that, and she was like, oh my gosh, I have goosebumps. So after the appointment, she walked me up to the front, and I had to tell her, I was like, thank you for asking about them. Because I think some people, they don't know how to do that. Like, once they hear that your child died, it's kind of like they get stuck and they don't want to mention anything about it. I think if they ask for their questions about the child or children, that the parent may feel uncomfortable. So it was just a really nice experience. Like, I had to tell her, I said, thank you so much. And she, we hugged and everything. It was a dental appointment. I was hugging the dental assistant, like, thank you for asking about my girls. Yeah. And so she was like, it seems like you were comfortable enough with, talking about them. So I thought, I'd ask questions about them. Yeah. So yeah, that's just one example of just speaking on them and being comfortable enough to do so.
And it's funny that you mentioned that. I know I hadn't told you this, but I play basketball Friday mornings, or at least I try to play basketball. And the group of guys, good group of guys that that show up, and I was gone for a long period of time when we were dealing with it, and so when I came back, I had let some of them know, and very supportive and things like that, and this Friday, a couple of them asked me, "Hey, how you doing?"
Mm.
You know, and just talk to me like we were having a normal conversation that you would have during basketball about, you know, sports and all that kind of stuff like that. Say, "Hey, man, how you doing? How's your wife doing? How's the family?"
Mm.
And you know, that was surprising to me in the sense that, you know, you don't think a group of guys playing basketball would be like, you know, it's very stereotypical, I know, but you know, I was really, um, you know, that helped, you know, because then I just, and even for me being able to talk about the twins and just say it without having hesitancy, say, yeah, you know, we're doing better, you know, we're still struggling with, you know, not having them here, of course, you know, but you know, every day, you know, try to get a little bit better in just dealing with how we deal with it.
Yeah.
And so the fact that there's people, strangers essentially, and then people that I know, you know, have a loose association with that, you know, you can talk to and bring it up. Even the people, you know, that I work with on a regular basis, you know, I'll mention the twins, and it's just as a part of the conversation.
Right.
And going back to what you were saying in the group, not wanting their child's name to be forgotten, I felt is really important for us too, because we were the only ones out of the people that we know that got to experience them.
Yeah.
You know, because, you know, Nolani unfortunately passed at childbirth, and like Lannie was in the NICU for 31 days, and during the time period, we weren't allowed to have guests and visitors. So, you know, sometimes, initially I felt like this is just a thing that you and I share, a memory about some two people that no one else got to experience.
Yeah.
And so for the ability for other people to forget them, I think would be easy because they never met them.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that was a big thing for you and I. We wanted to make the twins as alive in our lives so everyone else could appreciate them because the way that we did.
Yeah.
So and that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today, is just what we do daily to ensure that there's no mistake that we have those 5 children, and Nolani and Leilani were a part of our family, are a part of our family, and will continue to be a part of our family, you know, well into the future and forever.
Yes.
So, I think going back, if we go back a little bit, I know in one of our prior videos we talked about our memorial services for the girls. For Nolani, it was more of the traditional memorial service. You know, at funeral home, everyone wore black. There was music. There was a message. I spoke. Bailey spoke, and all that. And we talked about the heaviness of it, but also the kind of serendipitous kind of moment with the rain coming down, the mist coming down. You know, as Lannie said, her name means heavenly mist. So that was very cathartic, I guess, in that sense. But it still felt very heavy in that. And so when Leilani passed, we didn't know if we could really do
that again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, we have, you know, with them being twins, there's always a whole bunch of different twin metaphors and things, you know, associated with twins. And we're thinking like, you know, would it be, I guess, appropriate or fitting, I guess, to have a sunrise service on the beach, because we love going to the beach, and kind of welcoming the day while we're remembering Leilani. So we did that, and I think when we talked about it, we mentioned just the sun coming up, how peaceful it was, and then for our oldest daughter, Bailey, how it felt like she released so much emotion, you know, she was kind of like, you know, a conduit or so for the whole family. Like, just she was crying like the, you know, like the heavy like,
cry. Yeah.
But you know, and we were all there for. We didn't even have to ask why. We didn't say anything. She cried. She got it all out. We said some words. We had some music playing, and we just sat in that moment as a family, and thinking about our girls, and remembering Leilani in that moment, and it felt like all of it came together, and as weird as it sounds, but just what we wanted and what we envisioned on how to remember them in that particular moment.
We had obviously their separate memorials, so we decided to try to do something for both of them.
Yeah.
And we came up with the idea of doing a butterfly release. We went out in our backyard.
Well, let's tell them why butterflies. So, you know, when we were, and I wasn't really aware of this, but yeah. So when we were at the hospital, and you know, after the delivery, outside of our door, I noticed they put a butterfly at the hospital, and you know, it took a couple days for me to really pay any real attention to it, and then you know I looked at it and did, you know, just a quick Google search, and that's how they, at least in this hospital, would mark that the patient had suffered a loss, particularly in the postpartum wing of the hospital, and then while Leilani was in the NICU, the nurses there had put up her name in letters, and then they also put Nolani's name in letters on Leilani's name, but in butterflies. And so, you know, we looked it up some more, and butterflies it does represent loss. It also represents, you know, like a rejuvenation or something like that, transformation, and all that. So multiple symbols with it, but you know, we kind of really adopted the butterfly, you know, for our girls. I don't know if you can see over here, we have 2 crystal butterflies for them. And so, like Lannie was saying, when we had done their separate memorials and wanted to do something to remember them together.
Yes. And so we decided to do the butterfly release, and we actually have the box right there that the butterflies came in. And it has a butterfly on the top of it. So we all went in our backyard, and we said some words to remember them by. We said some scriptures, and we opened the box and just let the butterflies just kind of fly free. And it was such a special moment, just us in our yard, remembering the girls. And I don't know, I haven't looked this up yet, but every time we look back there now, it's like an influx of butterflies. They're always around. So I wanted to look up, like, I guess wherever they're released at, that they come. They come and visit every now and again. But we love seeing it.
And then now, even, you know, we're out somewhere, there's butterflies.
There's always butterflies. I'm like, has it always been like this, or now we're just noticing it? I don't know, but it's always a great reminder. Like you said, I guess we kind of taken on the butterfly theme for the girls. So whenever we see a butterfly, it always reminds us of them. So I don't think in any of our previous videos we mentioned that we had the girls cremated. And these butterflies that I have on my necklaces, these are small urns, and they have Leilani's ashes and Nolani's ashes in them. And it's just something, this is so random, but I told Dion I got the idea, or I heard of someone putting ashes in a necklace several years ago. The comedian Tony Baker.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
He lost his son, I want to say in 2021, 2022. It was a few years ago. and he got his son cremated, and he has some of his son's ashes in a necklace, and he said he never takes it off. He wears it every day, and I just thought that was a beautiful way to keep his son with him, close with him, and never thinking that one day I would do the same, because didn't think that I would lose a child, but when we decided to cremate the girls, um, I was like, I want to do that. I want to have their ashes in a necklace, and I want to wear them. And it's just a way for me to just keep them close to me. So while they're not physically here.
After, you know, putting them to rest and doing their butterfly release, and then even, getting their ashes interned, we quickly realized, and I believe we appreciated this before, but it kind of, because sometimes after you lay your loved one to rest, there's a funeral, or you have them cremated, or however you say goodbye to them. For most people, not most people dealing with the loss, but most people in general that are associated with you, your friends, even family members, that kind of ends that story or so. Yeah. Right? And it's not to say anything disparaging or negative, but every person that has a life that's as complicated as yours, right? So even if they do feel empathy for you, feel sadness for you, they still got to go to work and still got to deal with everything they're dealing with. And so sometimes they leave you in a place that, oh, okay, you said goodbye, I said goodbye, so next chapter, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But anyone who's dealt with a loss will tell you that's not how it works. Right. And so we've had to deal with that understanding, is that sometimes it felt jarring. It felt jarring to us sometimes. A person that we knew, and we know they knew that we dealt with this loss, but the next time they treat us, it's like, hey, how, like, everything is back to normal. Mm-hmm. And particularly early on, I think that was a struggle for me. Yeah. I know it was a struggle for you. Like, I took a couple months off of work, and I went back to work, and to get back into doing what I did as if it was just business as usual, was really hard to do. It's still, something that I struggle with. But, even life, like, we would go, to a doctor's appointment. We would take the kids to one of their after-school activities. And then that person that you would normally have a nice, polite conversation with or something, hey, how you doing? How you doing takes on a whole new meaning now, right? And then I think we talked about this before, but, then, like, do I lay all of this? Well, do you really want to know how I'm doing? Do I lay all of this on that person? And because if they ask me on Tuesday and I see them again on Thursday, I'm still going to be feeling the same way. Yeah. So, it's kind of, how do you manage that? But then you don't want to pretend as if you're not dealing with that.
Yeah, because I think it gives people a false sense of, oh, they're fine.
Yeah.
They're dealing with it really well, because you're so used to being in that, I don't know what to say. I don't know, should I be honest with them and let them know I am struggling right now, or do I just say the cliche, the regular thing, like, oh yeah, I'm good, how you doing?
Because then you, at least internally, I felt running the risk of saying I'm okay, I'm good, would be a disservice to our girls. Because if you, I thought about it like this, if you had a child that was dealing with something, and people knew, right? And they asked you how you're doing, they would keep that in mind. If they knew you, right? If you knew your child was sick or they were battling something, right? They would ask you with that understanding, and they would understand if you were upset or frustrated that day. But once again, because our girls, with their life being so short, the world didn't get to experience them. So even at the moment when people know that we lost them, they never saw them. They never got to meet them. Mm-hmm. So when that moment in time passes, to them, there's no outward reminder of their presence. And so sometimes I can understand it may leave their conscience that, oh, Deanna and Lannie had twins that they lost just at the beginning of this year.
Yeah.
I mean, springtime. I mean, we're just now getting into fall, so it's only been one season.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's only been been a season. So I can understand why people may leave the front of their mind. And that's a lot for someone else to remember every time they come in contact with you. If they only see you, once a month or something. Right? And so we made a conscious effort to not feel embarrassed, or I don't know if embarrassed is the right word, but just some type of way hesitant. There you go. Perfect. About bringing up and asserting our girls in every conversation, every time, as without hesitation, without pause, because they are our girls. They're part of our family. Just like if we talked about any of our kids, that's how it is. And sometimes I've talked with some people and they're like, man, I really wasn't asking for all of that. I understand, but I gotta be honest about that, because I don't ever want to have the thought that I didn't mention my girls, I didn't want to make someone else uncomfortable.
Yeah, I like that, and I feel the same way. At first, I guess it was a little awkward because you don't know how they're going to react.
Yeah.
But now, like, everything that you just said is like, that's just what it is.
Yeah.
And you had mentioned pictures. That's another way that we honor them, remember them, is we have pictures of them around the house. I have pictures of them on our refrigerator, along the table that we have, like, family pictures of all the kids. Their pictures are there as well.
And digital.
Yes, and I have a digital picture frame that they had got me a couple Mother's Days ago, and I made sure to put pictures of the twins on there as well. So when it pops up, sometimes it makes me cry, and then other times it makes me smile. Because I got to experience something special. I got to hold them. I got to mother them. And so it reminds me of that good time, the short time, but that good time that I had when I was able to embrace them physically.
Yeah, and then I think, she did this, she took the initiative with that, and I came home one day, and after she had done it, and I kind of took a quiet moment and really didn't even say anything about it. At first, and then I came and mentioned to you, thank you for putting the pictures up. And I think two things about it, because first, like, it just seemed like, I won't say normal, but like you had just put the pictures amongst all our other pictures and everything like that. So, and in my mind, I think that was the perfect kind of symbolism for what the twins are integrated into our family. Without any kind of special pretense or hesitation, because they are our kids.
Yeah.
And so their pictures are amongst Junior's, Khalees's, and Bailey's, just as, even if they were here with us, we would have done the exact same thing. So I really appreciated that, and I think that, for the kids, it helps too, because once again, they didn't get to see them and touch them and be with them as well. And so that really helps them to, I don't want to say put a name to a face, but, have the visual representation of their sisters.
Yeah.
And so that has facilitated numerous conversations with them about the twins. And it has made it normal for them to talk about the twins, just as if they were here with them.
Yeah, I don't want to cut you off, but yesterday, for instance, I was doing Bailey's hair, and she likes to either look up videos or pictures. So she was looking at pictures, and she scrolled, and then she got to the pictures of Leilani. And, I was just kind of just kind of looking at her, monitoring her to see, how she would react to seeing pictures of her. And after a while, I asked her, I said, well, how does seeing pictures of her make you feel? And she said, good.
Yeah.
And that made me feel good that it wasn't something that triggered her in a way, in a negative way that made her feel overwhelmingly sad. They're still sad about not having their sisters, but when they see pictures of them, it doesn't bring on that, like, I don't know, a traumatic response.
Yeah. And they can still do it with joy and kind of wonder and about what their sisters would have been like. Because the other day, I think it was yesterday as well, we were talking about like who they would have looked like.
Oh yes,
yeah.
yes.
So and Junior's like, oh, I think they would have looked like Bailey or because our son and our youngest are spitting images of each other. Yeah. So we're going to give Bailey, our oldest daughter, her two little mini me's as well.
Yes.
And so the way that they were talking about it, we were just sitting there listening, and they just having a conversation that was regular, that didn't come with any heaviness or hesitation. It's like, hey, I think our sisters would have looked like this. They would, I think they would have been, kind of like Khalees, where they're very adventurous, or maybe they would have been, a little bit shyer, or just the way that they were talking about them, was really.
And we were even talking about like how Khalees probably would have responded to them.
Yeah.
From going from the baby to the middle. So she probably would have been like, who are these two babies coming and taking the baby spot from me?
Exactly.
But yeah,
With that, and just like that conversation, we do encourage them to ask questions whenever, something pops into their head. When they start feeling sad, to come to us, let us know, hey, I was thinking about Leilani and Alani. Okay, well, what were you thinking about? I just missed them. It's okay to miss them.
Yes.
It's okay to miss them. When we pray, we pray for each other. They always mention Leilani and Alani in their prayers. And so that's, as we say, we're talking about things that allow us to keep them in our hearts and our minds. And the fact, and it has been intentional on our part, but I think it's been, very rewarding and a proud dad, mom moment that our kids have, embraced it, and they just showed so much resiliency, strength, maturity with the issue that's well beyond their years, because it wouldn't be wrong if they were mad about it, if they were scared about it, but and I know they have been mad, they have been scared, but they've been, I want to say, just not curious, but they've embraced the difficulty with like I said, a sense of maturity that's just well beyond their years, because the concept of life and death is still something that's hard for adults to grasp it. So, for a preteen and a school age child to be handling things the way they are, like I said, proud parent moment.
Very.
And so, I think with that, what we do with the kids, excuse me, and keeping and allowing them to have all the emotions, have open dialogue about their sisters. I think between us, I think has always been the place where I feel, I guess, the most secure and comfortable talking about that, and we spent hours talking about the time that we had with them, and the time, the difficult parts of it, of course, but also that joyful optimism that we had as soon as we found out
that we were pregnant with them.
Yeah, and kind of the what ifs, and I know some people sometimes that can weigh heavy on you. I feel that we do it in a way that is appreciative of the reality that we're dealing with, but still has that kind of wonder as a parent. Like, I wonder what my kid's gonna be when they grow up. Mm-hmm. So
we literally we went on a date Friday.
Yeah.
And we talk about some of everything, but somehow we always land on our kids, even when we're supposed to be getting
away from them.
Yes, for a little while, but we were talking, and the waiter, what's it called when they know about wine and stuff? Sommelier. He came and he was pouring a wine, and he was like, "Oh, I want to tell you a little bit about this wine, and it's an orange wine." Yeah. And I was about to break down right then and there, but I waited until he poured the wine and talked about it and all that stuff. And I told him, Regina King, that phrase or that saying that grief is love with nowhere to go. I heard that from her. Mm-hmm. And she had lost her son several years ago, and she created a wine in honor of him. It's called Me and You, and in the middle of it is Ian, and that's her son's name. Her son's name is Ian. And he had introduced her to orange wine. And so that whole little roller coaster of, emotions kind of came over me, like, with this orange wine, which was lovely, by the way. It tasted really nice. But yeah, it just something like that, can kind of, but I think because we're doing the work and trying to do it in a healthy way, it was something that made me emotional, but it wasn't something that made me want to shut down and go into a depressive state because of it.
Yeah.
So.
No, and so that's what I'm talking about, is that ability to still speak, optimistically, just like if we're talking about any of our kids that are here with us, our oldest is in middle school, and we got to start thinking about colleges now. Our oldest daughter is a cheerleader. We got competitions coming out. We got to put a travel plan together, and our little one is about to turn 2. And,
next week she'll be 2.
And so then we'll talk about imagine, Lannie and Lannie here, just the, you were talking about having to take them, what it would be like in the car in the morning on the way to school.
Yes, because our mornings start really, really early, and we try to get out the house at a certain time, and so I was talking to him about it one morning, it would have been so nuts with the girls, but I always envision them in the back, in their car seats, and just how everything would have played out if they were here. Their birthday is March 6th, and so they would have been coming up on 7 months. And so, they would have been big and probably crawling and getting into things. And so I always kind of have visions of them together, just tearing the house up. And
yeah, because even now we have, I was thinking the other day, we have baby gates up that we had up since,
Bailey was little.
Yeah. So I was, before we found out we were pregnant, I was thinking about, finally I can take the baby down. So I was like, oh no, I'm going to have to leave them up for, a few more years. And even I told you the other day, during date night again, it's holding on to Khalees a little bit more, because, she is the baby, and, our twins aren't physically here with us. So, we have that baby stuff. We were thinking that, we already have two girls. We have a lot of girl stuff that would have been handed down to the twins.
Yeah.
And then we have the stuff that we got in anticipation of them that we still kind of keep, around the house because, they're part of our lives, and it's, we're not going to just, toss this stuff, in the garage or whatever, as if, they weren't with us.
Yeah. And it may come a time in our journey that some of the things that we could say, okay, we can put these things away, not, get rid of them, but put them away. But for instance, we had bought like a baby bottle steamer and sanitizer, and it is still in the same spot. It still has bottles in them, that, was ready for use, because I was pumping, and speaking of pumping, my breast pump, we still have that downstairs as, that was my little spot, downstairs that I would, make sure I pump and, store bottles for Leilani. And speaking of bottles, we still have a freezer full of milk that I think instead of just throwing it away, I don't know. There's so many different uses for breast milk that I've discovered, from soaps to like healing balms, like for rashes, or because that stuff is magical. If y'all didn't know, like, please research breast milk and all the things that like all the great things that's in breast milk is just amazing, by the way. So I know that there's something I can use it for, but it's like, y'all, it's like the downstairs freezer, the deep freezer is just filled with it. So I'll figure it out. But as of now, it's just there. We have just several other little trinkets around the house, that we just not ready to put away, and it reminds us of them. Right next to, on my side of the bed, is the code and the number to the NICU that we called every single day, to check on Leilani, and it's just there. I haven't had a thought or felt moved to take it down.
Yeah,
so it's still up.
When we bought, the older three home, I know we kept their, little ankle tag, and we kept, hair, first teeth, and all this kind of stuff like that. So, I don't see any reason that we don't do the same thing with the twins. We don't, treat it different in a sense as how we want to remember our kids, and the memories we want to build through our life with them. We don't let the negative, the dramatic loss of them prevent us from remembering them and having joy in those memories. You can't let the pain steal away your joy, because, we talked about this. We can't let the memory of our girls only bring pain. And so we have to work consciously, and purposefully to ensure that we create memories, and that, just as if with our kids here, that we remember them, we smile when we think of them, and our heart fills with joy, while we mourn them, because that that heaviness, I remember feeling, when we first lost them, when we first lost Nolani, and then when we lost Leilani, the days after, that heaviness can do some dangerous things. And you have to work against it. You have to work together. You have to find things on your own. And I think in dealing with that dual reality, like we talked about, of still being here, being happy, being present, being the full mom and dad that our kids that are here deserve, but never letting our twins out of our memory if we didn't try to find joy in our memory with them, incorporate them into our life in a positive way. I think it'd be very hard to not allow that sorrow, that hurt to overcome you.
Yeah, that's good. You had mentioned, when people say how you're doing, I tend to say I'm taking it day by day.
Yeah.
That's my answer now. And I don't typically say, oh, I'm good. I feel great. I feel fine. That's not normally my answer. It's I'm taking it day by day. Because today I might feel, pretty good.
Yeah.
And, they're still in my mind, but overall I'm feeling pretty good. But then tomorrow it may not be that level of positive.
Yeah.
In a sense. So, I may have a breakdown, which I still do, when I think about everything, but I'm taking it day by day. That's my answer. So, and I think for the most part, people understand that, like,
Yeah.
okay, I don't, it's not something that they have to, delve more. I don't have to delve more into it,
Yes.
to give them details, but it's something that's understood. Like, okay, so.
And I think you deserve to give yourself that type of grace to say that, yeah, today was good.
Mm-hmm.
The day before I was okay.
Mm-hmm.
The day before that I wasn't really good.
Yeah.
Right? And be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
First and foremost about it, and then give an honest response to those people, because if they really want an answer to that question, then they'll understand.
Yeah.
If they were just saying it reflexively, it's not really going to matter to them, anyways. And so, what we were talking about, to the people who are helping or know someone that is dealing with a loss, I would say be aware of that, and it's not anything, don't take it personally or anything like that. If you ask someone how they're doing, they say, I'm okay. That okay says a lot.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
If you say, how are you doing? They say, well, today's not the best. If they say, well, how are you doing? You say, how are you doing? And they say, well, today's good. Right? Those are subtle ways that people can say a lot. And that's maybe all they want to say. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have anything to do with you. Or it may not have anything to do with you. I don't know. But, it may not have anything to do with you. Just that person is dealing with that situation in the best way that they can at the time that you come across them. So you got to give people that grace to allow them to have good, bad, and days in the middle.
Yeah.
So.
And one other thing, I had told you I saw something that said, when you lose a child, you can simultaneously experience immense joy and then also feel like deeply saddened at the same time. When we're doing things with the kids, like earlier this weekend we watched was it Elio? The little, that was such a great, like, just watching movies with them, spending time with them, playing video games with them. You played video games with Junior yesterday.
We have this big couch in our family that we can all lay on, and I remember when I brought it, I was like, that's one of my favorite things to do, to have all the family together in one room, relaxing. I normally fall asleep.
He always falls asleep. They were proud of you yesterday that you didn't fall asleep on the movie.
So good. It was a cute movie.
It was cute.
But then, so we talk about that, like, well, if the twins were here,
absolutely.
we would have had two more little scooting around and all that kind of stuff. I think about, like, because now Khalees is big enough, like, we don't have to worry about her rolling off the couch.
Yeah, she can get on that.
We would have had to worry about make sure the twins don't roll off the couch, and just little things like that. Like, you mentioned there's never a time where it's not in your mind.
Never.
Like, what you don't have, right? And so particularly when you lose a child, there's that always that dual reality that you live in. You're trying to go about your life, particularly if you have other loved ones, other kids that need your attention and your love and your commitment to them. But then that that moment of joy that you're like, oh man, this is a great family moment or whatnot. And you're like,
yeah, and then
right.
you get hit with that sadness.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought that was a powerful quote, and I don't think anyone could really understand it unless they actually have gone through that grief. Again, this is a club that I hate being a part of. But my, I guess, my advice, I guess, for this video, for anyone who's watching who's experienced loss, would be to find community.
Yes.
Find people who know what you're going through, because it sucks, but it helps to be amongst people who say, I see you. Mm-hmm. I know what you're feeling. I know exactly what you're going through. And so, yeah, find community, find people who you can lean on and talk to. This is my number one, my number one person that we talk about it often. Again, on our date, we talk about it all the time. Some days we cry about it together, and some days we're able to, smile, about it. So, thank you. This is like not a part of it, but thank you for just being so easy to talk to. And when I am having a rough day, you're the only person that I'm like, I gotta call my husband. I gotta call Dion. And you listen. You can, comfort me and let me know it's okay that you're feeling this way. I have to mention this. I want to say last week was really, really rough for me. And, I called him several times that week and, letting you know that I was kind of in a bad spot mentally. And, Friday, at the end of that week, you had brought home some flowers and some of my favorite snacks. I love snacks. Some of my favorite snacks and a card that the card was just so beautiful and heartfelt. And then he also took the kids and say, hey, have a few hours to yourself. And when I tell you guys, that meant the world to me, because it just felt like I was seen and you paid attention and you read how I was feeling. And that goes to one of the things we had said in a previous video. When one is down, the other is there to help pick that person up and vice versa. And I believe that scripture, and I'm gonna post it on the screen somewhere, where it says two is better than one. About when one is down, low is, the person who don't have that person to help lift them up. Yeah. And so thank you for being the person that has helped lift me up time and time again in these past several months. So
I love you, babe.
I love you too.
And you know that you're that person for me. I mean, I generally don't share my emotions with, a big group of people. Very few, a select few. But no one knows, my heart, like you do, other than Jesus. And I know that sometimes that I'll admit that, I don't wear my emotions on my sleeve, right? And she knows this. And I think you've given me the grace to, not think that I'm not struggling because I don't have an outward presentation of it. And I never feel like I cannot give that outward expression to you. I mean, in transparency on our date, we were having a conversation and about after the orange wine, and I just broke down for a minute, and it wasn't, she, put her hand on my knee and said it's okay, and for me, that's what I need. I don't need a big to do. I don't need, I just need to be, feel, I guess, comfortable and secure,
in
that
your vulnerability.
yeah, when it happens that that you're going to be there and you always know the right thing to say, and there's a subtlety to it that you understand that I appreciate, and that appreciation that you have and understanding of how you know I guess I need to be cared for is I love you for it, and so that that community, like I said, it can be outward, and if you do have and this will be, I think, another episode in and of itself. So sorry to get ahead, but
Yeah.
if you are in a relationship and if you're married, the 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 relationship between you and your spouse um, is the most important thing, of course, other than your relationship with God. But here on earth, that person that is going through this with you, make them your strongest weapon against that darkness, that fear, that sadness, and don't allow that darkness, fearness, sadness to push y'all away from each other,
Right.
to drive a wedge in between that relationship, because y'all will be each other's strongest support. So, like I said, we'll talk about that more later, but thank you.
Thank you.
As we've been talking about, whatever you can, however you can, find something to keep that person that you love, keep them near, um, because you deserve it and they deserve it. Don't let fear, anger, sadness steal your joy and the memories of the one that you love. So, thank you all again. This is Dion.
And I'm Lannie.
And we appreciate y'all for joining us on In the Mourning.
See you next week.
Once again, I'm Dion.
And I'm Lannie. And we'll see you next time.
And this is Joy in the Morning.
No, it's not.
Oh!
Well, go ahead.
Joy.
In the morning?
That's what I said.
You said joy in the morning. You said this is joy in the morning.
What is it? It's not joy?
It's called In the Mourning.
Oh, I always put the joy. My bad.
It's okay.
I want to do that again.
Yeah.